So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463 And I feel like some forms of sadness, some forms of loneliness are a habit. And I really wanted to differentiate between any kind of depression and some forms of sadness or lonely feelings. Anyway, before I go into it, I am Earthling 64 yada yada yada. And one year during a vacation period, my sister and I decided to come up with a language that we were going to make our own words. And of course, the first things that you have to get out of the way once you're going to make a language is figure out a way to insult each other. Like in Korean, for example, my friend made sure to tell me that the words for shut up are takcha. And of course, in our language that we made up, the only words that I remember really are tuple miss, which was supposed to mean shut up. In addition to that, I am a computer programmer by profession. I make desktop applications. Yeah, that might seem a little bit like desktop applications. Shouldn't you be making apps? Yeah, well, apps require a little bit more sophistication and work that I don't want to invest in. So I've made a couple of programs that I hope are still being used by governmental agencies to make the world a better place. I've traveled a bit to Czech Republic, Caracas, Venezuela, Seoul, South Korea, and a couple other places. And that's about it for me. So, with respect to sadness and loneliness, I think that there are components of habits involved in both of those things. And the reason why I say that is that, at least for me personally, I recall when, on the few instances I can recall being sad or depressed or whatever, and I think I should make a statement here, which is that I know that there are some thoughts and some cycles of thinking that at any given time might be almost insurmountable. I have met people that I liked, and for whatever reason, something happens, and there have been days, back to back to back days, where there was nothing else that I could think of except going over the circumstances over and over and over and over in my head. And you know what I found is a really good help for that? Masturbation. You can totally have this idea of your love for a particular person and how you've lost them and blah 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 blah, but once you have a certain amount of release, you realize that, oh, okay, that's what all of that build-up was about, was the fact that, evolutionarily speaking, my brain wanted me to perform the ultimate culmination of what heterosexual love is supposed to entail. And that was, it's an evolutionary imperative to go ahead and, hey, accomplish the deal. And once it's accomplished, my brain is like, okay, that's fine, next. It's really kind of sad. And I do have to get back to my idea that a certain amount of sadness and loneliness have to do with habits, but it is good to know how to sometimes circumvent a potentially, well, it's not an infinite loop that I would have, but in one specific instance that I can think of, I recall that it was 3 days of back-to-back just thinking and focusing on the loss of that particular person, and I don't know what broke it. I kind of made a mental marker in my mind that, okay, it takes about 3 days, but could it have been that I decided to get some release, as I said, and that was the reason why? I can't recall. But I know that on other occasions, when I have had that pent up mourning and sadness and conflict in my mind, that yeah, masturbation really put an end to it, an abrupt and almost complete full stop to say, okay, you don't have to keep thinking about this anymore. But aside from that, with respect to general loneliness and sadness, I realized that a lot of that can come from the idea of supposed to be. Like, a lot of us know, or we think we know, what people, our peers, are doing, or what we have heard where we're supposed to be in our career or our status in society. And when we mentally go through the day, or in fact really go through the day, and we're like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in a big corner office, picking up the phone, having conversations with people in meetings, telling people what to do, making big deals, and, or I'm supposed to be a doctor, working as at this particular hospital or doing that, or I'm supposed to be a programmer, or I'm supposed to be a farmer with 10 acres worth of stuff, or I'm supposed to be a chef who has his own kitchen and her own restaurant or anything like that. And when we compare what we wanted or thought at 5 or 10 or 18, what we thought that our lives should be like with where we are, and we just keep mulling and comparing that, we end up dissatisfied. And the thing about it is that even though we have such great lives, many of us, in terms of the standard of living that we have with respect to so many billions of other people in the world who may not even get $100 a month to survive for the entire family, we still look around, and in many instances, not in all, we find that speck of dust. We have our white gloves on to see how perfect our lives should be, and we find that speck of dust, that, oh my God, why is this here, da 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 da, and we get ourselves upset that every last thing is not how it's supposed to be. And part of this, I think, is because we believe the ads that we have seen all our lives with smiling, happy, excited people who are just drinking a bottle of Coca-Cola, and that makes their life perfect. Or they're on a soap opera and their hair is already perfectly done. They have, ideal body size. Their makeup is done, even men, that we don't realize it. They look spotless. The lighting is perfect. And we keep comparing ourselves. And that's another thing. I suppose I should do, another piece on the fact that we don't just compare ourselves with Instagram. We compare ourselves with TV commercials, with dramas and comedies, with plays, with anything else that we see, this idealized life. And Instagram just followed that. Instagram didn't invent making your life look better than it really was. That is in every production that we've ever seen, where there's a certain amount of focus on things that are not real. You don't have actors just come straight off from the bus or whatever and then haphazardly go on to stage with their clothes, however, wherever they pick them up, and just thrown on. No, everything is meticulously put together. But back to the whole idea of a habit. I remember at times feeling, oh, woe is me, and feeling a sort of martyrdom that is, everybody else or so many other people in the world have things just great. not knowing that so many other people in the world do not have things great. They just don't. There is no person in the world who consistently, year after year, day after day, feels that things are great. That person doesn't exist. You have times that may be really great, and you have times that are not. And that is even in spite of the fact that most things in your life may be going great. It's where you focus your attention. If you have good relationships, you might focus on work and say, oh, well, work is going badly. If you have things going great at work and a great relationship, you might focus on the fact that, hey, your status in life is not really that great. Work is great, but you're not making as much money as you feel like you should be making, even though you have a good relationship and things are good at work. You don't have that fancy car that you thought that you would have. You don't live in the neighborhood that you thought that you would have. Your friends aren't the people that you thought that you would have. And you feel okay. Or you've lost people in life, as we all do, and you focus on that loss rather than the people that you have right in front of you who want to help you. They want you to enjoy life with them. And I could feel that I had a habit at a particular time of focusing in an outward way, to say it's not focusing on the things that I liked and enjoyed, but focusing on the things where there was a problem that I thought with the things that I liked and enjoyed and who I was. And rather than, I guess it takes a while, and I would advise anybody who feels poorly about their lives to go taking a hard look at the lives of the people that they compare themselves to, and having a long conversation with those people about what their lives really are like and what it involves. And, trying to see if they would really want to be in that position. For example, I don't know that I would want to be a famous celebrity. I mean, I hear some really great things about that. But, for example, Billie Eilish. I remember there was a time where she was saying that she hated her life and she needed a friend to travel with her to make her feel better about going on tour. Then I guess she got into it, and now she loved her life. She loves her life, or different aspects of it. She was saying that, yeah, she likes when people are nice to her. She doesn't like when people are not nice to her. I like as an ordinary person, and that's completely understandable. But just because people on the one hand are nice to you, it also means that you can't go anywhere by yourself without security, because you will cause a stampede. And you might say, well, I don't want to do that anyway. Really? Maybe you just don't think about it, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe Billie Eilish getting used to her circumstances and enjoying it, however much, that's a great thing. Maybe that's what we should all be doing, just focusing on the good. Because all of us have so much to be grateful for, that we aren't suffering from all these different afflictions that we would have if we didn't have antibiotics, that we have enough food every day, that all of the wars and violence that people in the past used to encounter, that we don't have to deal with that. And maybe that's the new habit that we should have to get over the old one of thinking that we were on some kind of imaginary treadmill to a white picket fence and 2.1 kids and a husband or wife or mate or whatever the heck it is. Because for me personally, if I were to compare myself with where I wanted to be or where my peers are, and maybe that's part of what makes me feel okay, because I don't compare myself to my peers ever. I don't even know what my peers are actually doing. Many of them, I don't know much about their lives. And maybe that's part of the reason why I just don't get depressed, I suppose, or sad, or feel lonely, because I focus on what I enjoy. And if there's something that I am not enjoying, I take the steps to gradually get it out of my life. Anyway, that's me. Feel free to like, subscribe, look at some of my other videos, dislike, comment, share, any of those things. And yeah, in the same way that you would like somebody to do if this were your stuff. Have a good one. Peace.